Hey folks, welcome to Truck King and the next video in our 2025 Truck of the Year series. And right now, we're going to talk about the redesigned Ram 1500. This thing has a brand new power plant, and as I'm sure you heard, it ditched the V8. So what are our thoughts on this new Ram? And is this new engine really good enough to make it Truck of the Year? Let's dive into all of that right now. For 2025, Ram has heavily revised its 1500. Now, when you go through the trim lineup, and even when you drive this truck, you're gonna realize the changes that came to the interior, even to the exterior styling, they aren't massive. You can truly call it a massage of the lineup. No, the big change here is the heart of this truck. This is the new 3-liter twin turbocharged inline 6 engine. They call it the Hurricane, and this is replacing the legendary Hemi V8. So we'll talk a little bit more about trims and how the lineup works, but for now, let's just dive into this new engine because that is by far the biggest deal on this truck for 2025. Now, the first thing I want to say is that this Hurricane, and there are two different outputs of it, even at the base output, it is making more power than the V8 it replaces. And I think that was incredibly important for Ram. They don't want customers getting in this truck and right away thinking, oh my gosh, I've lost all the power from that old V8. So they made sure that even at the base end, the numbers come in above the V8. And then yes, if you step up to the high output option, you're getting a ridiculously powerful engine. Now, there is no doubt that the character of this engine is very different from the Hemi it replaces. The first thing you feel, and this is very typical, is the turbocharger. The fact that this is turbocharged means that you step on it, you hear the RPM and the engine really rev up, and then it takes a beat before the turbo really delivers that maximum hit of power. But once that power comes on, it is undoubtedly quicker feeling than the V8 powered truck. Now, the V8 had that nice linear progressive power delivery. You felt maybe a harder hit off the line and it stayed there, but yes, it just straight up isn't as powerful as this thing. So I don't think power is a concern here. The way it's delivered is different, but the overall feeling is absolutely that this new Ram is more powerful than the truck it replaces. Now, if you want to talk about the way it sounds, yeah, it's no contest. The V8 sounded better, had that throaty growl. They did some nice exhaust tuning here, but it just will never sound as good as the V8. But there's another, maybe more important practical point, that is fuel economy. I think that's also pretty good with this new Hurricane. In my experience, it's a big step above where the Hemi was. And that was one of the issues with that Hemi. It was a great engine, but it was always thirsty. Moving to small displacement turbo, what that usually means is that when you're cruising empty, you can get really solid fuel economy numbers. Once you put a trailer on, yes, the fuel economy will probably double, but that was the same as the gas engine. So from that point of view as well, you're gonna save money at the pump with this new power plant. So for all those reasons I just listed, yeah, I think that the move from Hemi to Hurricane was a smart one by Stellantis. And in past videos, I have said Stellantis basically had to do this. And a lot of you guys, the commenters, said, well, what about Ford and Chevy? They still have V8s. And you are correct. The reason being is that Ford and Chevy sell a bunch of efficient vehicles and electric vehicles, and that offsets their corporate average fuel economy, because that's the number that all these companies have to be held to in the United States. So with Ford and Chev, yeah, they offset that fuel economy, whereas Stellantis, they don't really have anything that's all that efficient, and they're not selling very many EVs. Maybe that'll change once the electric Ram shows up, but that's the reason why they had to ditch the V8, because they just couldn't meet those corporate average fuel economy standards. So it's sad that the Hemi went away, And yes, you can blame government regulation, but you can also blame Stellantis for being short-sighted and not planning ahead. Because I will admit, I already told you, I like this engine. I think it's basically better than the Hemi in every way, but you cannot deny the marketing strength of the Hemi name. The name's been around within sort of the Mopar community for decades, and it really held a lot of cachet. People really did regard the word and the thought of the Hemi as being a great engine, and that's something that's now lost on this new Ram. They can no longer go back to that marketing well, which was seemingly endless for the Hemi. So even though I think in practice on the pavement, this engine's basically better in every way, yeah, it's still sad to see that they lost the Hemi name and all of that sort of brand power that it has built up over decades. Now that's it for the engine for now, although I should mention that yes, the 3.6 liter naturally aspirated V6, it lives on in the Ram 1500 too, so there is a proper base engine option, and I actually quite like that V6. And yes, if you're gonna complain about reliability with the Hurricane, it's fair. It's pretty much an unknown at this point because this engine is brand new. On the flip side, that 3.6 V6, the Pentastar, it's been in everything for a long time now. So if you are looking for the most reliable engine in 2025, you might want to just stick with that base V6. But anyways, let's now look at the entire lineup because we actually had the chance to drive every single trim of the Ram 1500 this year. We don't always get that chance. And you know what? It really is different. I liked having the opportunity to go from a tradesman up to something more mid-trim, right up to the tungsten, to see the differences in those interiors. And what I remember from the tradesman is that I like the nods to utility. There's just more little shelves and cubbies to stash your stuff. And then on the flip side for 25, we got the new tungsten trim. We got a new top trim luxury truck, and that thing is absolutely gorgeous on the inside. Ram has always had some of the nicest interiors, and that definitely continues on. And then the other trim, which I think we have to call out, is the RHO. That is new for this year. Ram likes to say it's not replacing the TRX, but we all basically know it's a new TRX, and that's because everything is the same as the TRX in terms of suspension, the way it looks, the interior, except for the engine. Now we get the Hurricane, but you know what? Dad and I drove that truck off-road, and I think I found myself liking the RHO more than the old TRX because it was lighter. The TRX was ridiculous and felt more like super truck. RHO felt very much more livable, everyday off-road truck. So that was also a really smart addition to the lineup, especially at the price point that they're selling RHO for in the US. It feels like a fairly good value. And then of course the one we have right here, this is the Rebel. Now in terms of equipment, Rebel hasn't really changed, but it's still a solid off-road truck. We took this one out in the mud and it did perform pretty well. So yes, I like the lineup here from Ram as well. They do cover all the bases. And you know what, that brings me to the next point, which has to be price. Now at the base end on that tradesman, they've built in more and more features, which I do like. It's nice to get in a quote-unquote work truck and feel like you're getting a ton of features. But yes, base prices have also come up even on those tradesman trucks. So yes, if you're looking for one of these Rams, they still might feel a little bit expensive. Now you might be asking, where is your dad? Well, he decided to take a vacation on this week, so you guys can give him heck for it down in the comments. But still, I wanted him to weigh in. It's important for Truck of the Year that we deliberate together. So right now, here's his thoughts on this updated Ram 1500.
So just my thoughts on the 2025 Ram. We have a seismic shift in the build of a Ram pickup truck. We've gone from 20 years of V8 Hemi to twin turbo inline six. Now, this may turn out to be the best engine they've ever built, but we're not going to know about it this year. And the simple fact is that the majority of guys, once they get used to something, we're all the same, particularly if you're a little older like me. If it works, I stick with it. I don't really want to know about anything new. I just want what I want. And I think that Ram sales and Ram in general is going to suffer through the coming year for that simple reason, that there's a lot of guys, at the very least, who may be Ram loyalists who are going to say, I'm going to give it a year, I'm going to give it 2 years, I got to see what happens with this new engine. Over and above that, you know, Ram itself, because it belonging to Stellantis, is in a certain amount of turmoil. And they're having just some problems, and we got to get that all squared away. We need some people to get in there who understand what it is to not only to build trucks, but to sell trucks here in North America. There's just a little too much European influence at the management level in that company, and it comes out in a dozen little ways, none of which are good. So all that hopefully in 2025 will get resolved. I mean, I've loved the Ram for a long time, and I want to see them continue to build a good truck. Right now, I think they're doing the best they can with what they got, but I think they need more, because right now I think they're falling just a little bit short. The one very new truck that I have had a chance to drive just recently in Michigan was the new RHO. Fantastic off-road truck, okay? I'll go up against anybody on the internet whining about no V8 like the TRX had, okay? This motor in that truck, but it's not just the motor. It's the suspension builds, it's the engineering that's gone into it. When this thing hits rough ground, it handles better than the TRX. And like I said, I will stand up with that comment against anybody, and it's something that will probably sell fairly decently as we move forward. However, word out to Stellantis and Ram, you got to drop the price in Canada, okay? It's not bad in the States, but I don't understand why I got to pay so much. So work on that for us, but otherwise, clearly the engineers have not turned turtle yet. They're working hard at making something at Ram that's very significant.
Well, folks, we are coming to the end of this one. Now, the last thing I do think needs to be acknowledged is that Ram is struggling with sales in 2024. So I'm very curious to see moving into the future, 1 year, 2 years down the line, what the brand does to react to this. Now, they've already cut base prices. That's already happened, but I think it'll probably happen even more. There's also apparently a lot of incentives right now at dealerships. So yes, you can probably get one of these things for under sticker right now, and that's not something I've said over the last couple of years. Basically, everything has been MSRP or above, but that is changing. So it'll be very interesting to see the 2024 sales results and to see where Ram falls into it. But for now, sort of sales aside, I do think they've made a really good truck, and I think that the power plant here, although some people I know are scared of going to small displacement turbo, I think the way it feels, the fuel economy it delivers, it knocks it out of the park. And I'll miss the Hemi too, but not that much because this thing is so good. So you know what, folks, that is it for this one. Why don't you drop in the comments now, let us know what you think of this redesigned Ram 1500. While you're down below, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe to our channel, hit join to become a member, and then make sure you come right back here to Truck King as we keep going over our Truck of the Year competitors, and then very early in the new year, we will announce our winner, so make sure you stay tuned.